to sum up, my prior piece on Nichalas Kristof not being correct about progressive income tax. The whole income tax system is inherently unfair. Every group thinks they pay too much. And the one thing we agree on is that the bureaucracy and the process of filing income taxes extracts too much from all of us. Well, that's not a very good winner to the extent there are winners and losers. Here's my big objection to Nichalas Kristof in that piece about the discrepancies between wealth and poor in America. He talks about a discrepancy in life expectancy, which I'll take it as fact that it's now 15 full years between the longevity for the richest 400 people and the, I think it was the lowest 20%. 15 years life expectancy difference. Not a fair comparison to say that the wealthy are unfairly getting an advantage. It would be unfair if wealthy people did something to poor people to keep them living as long. I know of nobody doing that. Even the wealthy shareholders of coal mines do not force laborers to go into dangerous mines. It is a free country to labor as you see fit. Rich people are not causing a lowered life expectancy. Poor people might end up with lower life expectancy by not treating themselves as well as they could. And the government is not to blame here. If anything, the government gives more to poor people. You're indigent, we have clinics that you don't have to pay for to get yourself more healthy. So there's a reverse when it comes to the government use on keeping people healthier. Now, rich people do take more advantage at the end of stage life. They get later they get on in their late 80s more often than a poor person. And so some of those very expensive medical treatments will be available to rich people more often. But they're not being shut off because the poor person reached age 89 and needs a defibrillator. Poor is largely an attitude. In America, you can work. You can work 2 jobs in most cases. And you build up your skills so that the better job becomes a career for you. Nobody needs to be poor in America. I'll give 2 exceptions, okay? There's some people whose health or a family member's health really does keep them from earning or earning plus saving because they may have to spend a lot on medication. Or perhaps it's the single parent. Single moms don't get paid for parenting. And until that changes, it's the one area of welfare that I think is deserved. They're raising our kids, and they don't get paid well for it. And when they choose to work, it sometimes comes at the expense of family wholesomeness. It is really tough. Paying for childcare is a welfare version that I would actually like to see happen. Back to Mr. Kristof. His goal is a more progressive income tax that probably means a higher rate and with far fewer loopholes. But a high rate inherently will come with loopholes. That's the nature of democratic legislation. And yes, people with power will always get their way. They will always get their way. That's what elected politicians will end up doing when there is money available and favors available to the people who squeak the most. And poor people don't squeak very much. To their benefit, there are decent advocates. Those are progressive Democrats who have a decent amount of clout. They're just not going to get you much further. They will not take us into Elizabeth Warren land. She might get elected president, but you will not get a Congress that follows along. If you saw signs of that, there'd be enough revolted everyday Americans that those congressmen would get unelected. They would have to undo that kind of legislation. Tax avoidance will always happen with a highly progressive tax code. And that tax avoidance might include people taking assets out of the United States. That's the worst result. beware of what you ask for. Fairness can certainly be done a little bit better, but not in the massive way that Elizabeth Warren and it seems like Nichalas Kristof is looking for. I'm Mark Stewart.